my volume up, and I will turn y'all's volume up. All right, there we go. Their TMX sound. I think it's TMX. THX?
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Interplanar Crossroads, and welcome back to our Around the Hearth series. We haven't stopped it. It's just that scheduling was like really weird for the whole month of October for people. So
we didn't stop. We just couldn't.
Yeah. So we're back, and it is no longer October. It is November, and we are starting in with our Around the Hearths. Quick disclaimer before we begin. This is an adult podcast that sometimes features adults, usually those adults that use adult language. You have been warned.
I guess I have to say thanks, Dad. There it is.
Every episode, he singles us out as the ones who cuss.
I mean, it's not inaccurate.
Yeah. I only say it because it's true. So, all that said, the Interplanar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming, who is here with us, who has not been here with us very much.
He's telling me he's very special. Look at him.
He's so special.
I'm special. I'm so special.
With his little under chin beard.
Yeah.
Hey, I do what I can.
I do what I can.
Literally, this is all I can.
So.
Well, that's not true. I can get a couple little whiskers right here, but that's all.
You want some of mine? Because honestly, I could do it less.
Just paste
we'll
them
just
on
do
there.
a weird beard transplant. Rub chins until it goes through like osmosis. That's how beards work.
It's called brustling. Thank you.
The more you know.
Rub the beards together. It's called brustling.
Good.
All right. Well.
And I have the secret beard.
I can't see. No, you don't have no beard. You weigh 95 pounds and you're like 5'4". That's what your voice sounds like.
Dear lordy, no. I weigh 240.
I've seen him. He looks like a man.
Walk like a man.
Like, I weigh
Talk
240.
like
I've got
a man.
Notable fluffy facial hair. I have more facial hair than you, Tommy.
Prove it. I don't believe you. Turn on your camera. I believe in you.
My room is not lighted and it's messy and no.
All
My
right.
room's messy too, but it's pointed at the wall, so no one knows.
Okay,
Yeah.
back on track. Both the Interplanar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming have their Patreons going, so if you want to support us in those ways, you can. As far as announcements regarding that, we're starting back up recording. We're recording this before the next recording of Broken Universe starts up again after our special in October. So we hopefully will be able to get everybody together, and CryptoFox will be able to get with me on how the 400 one shot will be handled a bit more easily, since I'll be seeing that individual hopefully every week as he continues to play Jaluri. So.
Yeah, I think it was the last time I talked to her. She's mostly done with the one shot. She's just got to get the announcement together.
Yeah. That is about what I've been hearing as well. So you guys should be getting something soon enough. We are going to probably be doing something for shifting up on the recording, because Alex has let me know that he's probably not going to be able to record and broadcast and edit and stuff like that. So I'll have to take over the editing as well as the recording portion, but he may be able to still broadcast. So there you go. And I think that's all the housekeeping we have to do. Unless we pick up another patron for the $10 tier, there will be no giveaway this time, because unfortunately one of our patrons had to say not this month. So
He did.
that's too bad. But hopefully he will return.
Our patrons lost his job.
Well, he lost his job.
I thought we were talking about you.
No,
I didn't know. We're talking about Joe.
I was being incognito. If you listen,
We're
to
talking
this,
about no one. No one
No one.
We
exists.
can't. It's very hard to be incognito when two of our patrons are from Black Dragon Gaming.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
But-
accurate. Well, 1.5. The second one's awkward now. I guess, kind of legally.
I mean, I'll take her money.
No, well,
you.
technically she doesn't.
Well, I mean, Adam will
she's not
take
there
her
either.
money.
We're getting all into the behind the scenes stuff. So, getting away from the behind-the-scenes stuff and getting to what you're actually here for, we're going to be going over the recent update of the Pathfinder playtest. So we're going over the playtest update, which means this is update 1.6 that was released today, apparently. And I was told there was updates about Paladins, which means I have to go look at them. Because that's my favorite class. Well, yeah, it's still my favorite class. Nostalgia.
I thought your favorite class was plot device.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite GM class. That's my favorite. It's it's a special class only for people that actually run games, Kane.
Only for people who wear green vests and own inns.
So, all right. Does anybody have anything to go over the new alchemical items?
I have some words to say about the Alchemist, as it's my favorite class from first edition.
You would.
Before we get to actual Alchemist, the question is alchemical items because of how the PDF is formatted.
Yeah, I was going to say I can get to the items as we get to Alchemist, is what I was going to say.
Okay. So we can do that, and that might work better considering that they did do substantial changes to the Alchemist from what I saw.
Yeah, I know it's formatted alphabetically, but it might be easier to go over the Ancestries really quick.
Yeah. All right, so let me see. Spell damage, they did some changes on that, but that's really wordy, and we're trying...
Spell damage does more damage, but had no reason to do more damage, in this one's humble opinion, because I think the Blaster Caster was already amazing. Like, 75% of this update just feels like Christmas morning to me. Some classes are kind of getting the short end of the stick, but, like, everyone else is coming out.
Barbarian!
Barbarians are a little... I'm mixed feelings on it.
I don't.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
But all right. The only thing that I'll say about as far as spell damage is I agree with Tommy. There's no reason for them to do a whole bunch more damage because they were already doing good. So I don't know.
Basically, it looks like everything from what I've seen and what I've GM'd for, like everything got an extra DX stapled onto it. Is what like Lightning Bolt was 4d12, now it's 5d12.
And that's
at least everything that's listed in this new rule spell damage segment, everything went up. Nothing went down.
By at least 1d6. And like it tells to me that like there must be some game somewhere where casters are doing bad, because I've GM'd for casters of middle level and they just snap their fingers and the encounter is over. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
I don't know what kind of games that the Paizo staff is running where they're like their wizards are doing bad, but like either you're running real heinous campaigns and I want to see that shit, or like, your players are bad.
Yeah, I've watched.
So I don't ever want to accuse anyone of playing the game wrong because I don't believe that's possible in a role-playing game. But like, especially
not in a role-playing game that's like everyone will be good because it's a proficiency-based system.
Yeah,
it's real hard to mess this up.
What are you doing? Are you running? Like, are you planting your forehead into the sweaty chest of the Orc Chieftain before casting Fireball? Like, what are you doing?
Why are you so close?
That's how you paint the kick me sign on. Man, you want to know what else? I saw one of my patrons was telling me there have actually been people complaining on the Paizo forums, and I think I'm a little like biased against this because like all my games basically are on VTTs, but people are complaining about the amount of D6s and D10s and stuff they have to roll, and they're asking for averages. That seems so wild to me. Yeah, because like you can do so many damages.
You don't need the averages. You should know what the averages are. It's very simple math. The average for a D10 is 6. The average for a D8 is 5. Figure it out. It's not that hard. It's basic multiplication.
They're saying like official rules to like in lieu of damage at people, like finding all these dice and throwing them, like you do the average instead, like as a rule in the rule book.
Because that's the thing they do in 5th edition, and I think it makes sense if you're like you're a GM and you're running like a bunch of spellcasting NPCs and you just want to have quick damage. That makes sense. That's easy. That's easy bookkeeping. Yeah, but like that math is also, I feel, very easy to do.
It's not super hard. It takes like a minute to run the math.
Nothing I'm looking at here that should be difficult math to do. Like 14d6, like average damage for a d6 is 3.
2d6 will average at 7.
2d6 will average. Well, yeah, I know, but like, let's just for to have whole numbers.
Yeah.
If we average it at 4, 14 times 4 is what? 16 plus 40, which is 56.
Yeah.
So that's your average damage. But yeah.
There you go. Ta-da. Like, it's very. I feel it's very simple math. Maybe some people don't agree with me. Maybe I have more experience with arithmetic from having played, Dungeons and Dragons and its derivatives for the last 11 years. But like, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And my concern with it is they keep boosting spellcasters back up, and if you do, they're going to leave behind the marshals again, which is which is something that 2nd edition, to its credit, was not doing. There was still the disparity there, but the disparity was much smaller, and you could overcome
because there was no snap your fingers, paralyze, and then the marshal will come up and your gun.
Yeah,
you're done.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, 4th edition had it right. 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons had their shit together, and no one agrees with me because they thought it was an MMO on paper, which it was.
I don't agree it was balanced.
But who knows?
I played it. It just wasn't super fun.
People are gonna love it.
Yeah, see, Kane, you want to prove it to us, you got to run it for us sometime.
I'll do
you
it.
can
Sorry,
have your own month.
You were saying something?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying, I've played 4E. Like, the mechanics, they're alright. I just don't think it's as fun as the other ones.
It definitely
like, the choices I made didn't feel as interesting as a character.
Yeah, no, and I can agree with you on that. And I feel like that's because the system was so inherently balanced that, like, a lot of personal choices you made as characters didn't feel as unique. And that was sort of the failing of the system. But like I feel like it was part of the give and take that was inherent to the system. It was more balanced, but you felt less like
it was a good board game.
Special thing.
Yeah.
All right. So heritages, they had some changes, but not a whole lot that I saw.
Everybody got a little bit of something.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's nice.
They are very nice. Yeah.
My goblins got razor teeth. Kind of switched
got
around
a lot
little
of
bit.
really cool stuff.
I didn't notice how significant the temperature acclimatization was, because you have stuff like desert dwarves, which are like totally fine until 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which is ridiculous.
The rest of us are dead on the ground.
Yeah, that's like boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the Arctic, like the Arctic elf and the snow goblins, are okay to negative 80 Fahrenheit. And I know how cold that is because it's the same as Celsius.
It's that cold.
It does feel kind of cool to have like both halves of endure elements baked in, because that spell is such a staple.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it makes
that's just real good. That's real good.
Yeah, It makes a lot of sense for those that are wanting to play in those type of campaigns that they have that type of option, because there's always been Arctic versions, even from some of the earliest iterations of D&D. There's been Arctic versions of X or Y race.
I want that for humans, though. I want like the
Adopted.
Florida and Texas humans that are good to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I want like the Canadian, Alaskan humans that are good to negative 80.
Yeah, there you go. So they're all just dwarves. See, all of them are just dwarves. We're all dwarves.
Kane is about dwarf sized, yeah.
Yeah.
I am all about dwarves. I'm not. You're not wrong.
I don't know. Kane be a pretty tall dwarf.
I mean, you've seen me in person. I'm not as tall as I make myself sound.
You're not tall and you're very round. You are built like a dwarf who shaved his beard but couldn't get it all because the bottom part resists death.
The immortal beard.
It refuses to yield.
The immortal beard. Yeah, I acted that shit with a sword, and it was like, ping, ping, ping.
He's an Iron Beard. That's actually a thing in older editions. There you go.
We were talking about that in our 2-state game because Elu needs it, because all the dwarves, there's so many dwarves in that party. You need a beard!
Audible Hall.
Yeah. He wants me to have a beard because I'm his drinking buddy in game, because I took Big Billy to like not notice the beer.
It panned out for you pretty well for a while. So Alchemists can't have a thing.
Okay, things if we're gonna skip through a bunch of the Ancestries, you had a bunch of different stuff for the Ancestries, like like the cold and hot acclimatized races. You got a bunch of stuff like keen-eared elves, which got a bunch of extra sensory things. The same thing with sharp-nosed gnomes.
Twilight halfling.
Things. They added bleachlings in as just a playable heritage, what I think is really cool because they're the cancer gnomes.
Yep, they're my leukemia gnomes.
They're doing okay.
All right.
The Sphere of Nebulin and the Drow have both showed up as well, but they're considerably nerfed. I really hope Cavern Elf isn't a funny way to say Drow.
I mean, I feel like maybe it is. I feel like it's a balanced way to say Drow.
Yeah, it's accurate.
The same way with like where are our deep doors? Where's our Draugr? I just built a Draugr for a group thing I'm doing with one of my buddies, and he is scary. Those natural immunities are real gnarly.
They're the OG dwarves. They deserve that power.
They are immune to so many things. And then in the PDF, we have a couple of things that were introduced in earlier erratas, like the changed skill DCs and difficulty class numbers, things like identification and repair, treat wounds, some of the class changes. And okay, here's where we get to Alchemist. The Alchemist sort of got like a little overhaul, and they made significant changes as to how alchemical items worked and to how the Alchemist interacted with those alchemical items. So instead of just spending resonance to make alchemical items of their level, they changed the items. They basically overhauled all of the... Ooh, man, I am so full of beer. They changed the alchemical items to be leveled items that everyone would have access to. The difference being that with class features the Alchemist now has, like Advanced Alchemy and Quick Alchemy, the Alchemist could make level-appropriate items, level or lower, items for free by spending resonance during their preparation period at the beginning of the day. To the same preparation period that a wizard would take to prepare their spells or a cleric would take to prepare their spells. The exact same thing. So at the beginning of the day, you'll spend resonance points to make batches of alchemical items using what is now called infused reagents, which is very similar to how it worked before. You have a certain number of batches of infused reagents equal to your level plus your intelligence modifier, and you can use these reagents for either advanced alchemy or quick alchemy. If you have 1 to 12 batches of reagents, they total up to light bulk, and 11 to 20 are 2 light bulk loads, and so on. They're 1 bulk per. They're actually 1/10 of a light bulk, so they're a tenth of 1 bulk. So you can have a lot of them before you start to weigh yourself down. At least that seems to be what I'm reading here. Mm-hmm. And so advanced alchemy works with the primary preparation things, where you can spend batches worth, which is 2 items, a batch worth of your prepared out of your resonance, your prepared infused reagents to make alchemical items at the beginning of the day out of formula that you already know how to make. And then quick alchemy during the day, if you need a specific item on the fly, you can use your infused reagents if you have a leftover infused reagents in that 24-hour period to create an item very quickly, which is just a single item. So it costs you 1 action and a batch of infused reagents, which I mentioned before. You start the day with a number of batches of infused reagents equal to your level plus your intelligence modifier. And you're an alchemist, so you're probably going to have quite a few. Especially by late game, if you're adding your level to it, you're going to have a lot. And if you're making items equal to your level, there's only so many bombs you're going to go through in a day.
Hopefully.
I feel that's fair to say. The Alchemist also got a series of subclasses, like a couple of other classes did, and you can specialize into what are being called research fields for the Bomber, the Curagen, the Healer, which the Alchemist, the 2nd edition, was originally designed to be, the Mutagenist, and the Poisoner. And they all do specific things as you level. The Mutagenist gets to benefit from the mutagens more quickly because the mutagens usually have an onset time in 2nd edition. The Curagen gets more powerful elixirs, and they can make more of them for free when they spend their infused reagents. The Bomber gets more, like a greater variety of explosive alchemical formulae and the poisoner, I believe, gets to apply poisons more quickly, and then later on, I think makes those poisons stronger.
Mm-hmm. And it gets access to more poisons as it goes.
Yeah, and you also get resistance to poison. The mutagenist, is quicker onset. The curagenist makes 3 elixirs using a single batch instead of 2, which is really good if you're being an alchemist healer. And it
basically got all the healer alchemist feats that existed in the playtest before. Now they're just rolled into that.
Yeah, now they're just a thing you do.
Mm-hmm. And, which frees up archetyping and stuff.
The bomber increases their weapon proficiency with alchemical bombs as they become more potent in that research field.
And they get essentially, God, I can't think of it. It's not called Safe Shot. It's called
they don't have friends.
Don't burn your friends.
Yeah, so long as they can perceive everyone, they're launching.
So long as you are not invisible, the alchemist won't cook you. God, what is that? Was the staple level 2 alchemical discovery?
Precise bombs.
Precise bombs. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Same thing with selective channel. I feel like that was a staple in a lot of clerics. Like you had to be able to heal your friends and not heal your enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which did seem kind of feat taxy. So, all right.
I got it, but I also understood that it was you're basically just channeling indirect energy into a spot in the earth.
Yeah. All right. So that's a lot of stuff about them being worked out. They also give all the changes in a nice table in the update, which
because they have to, because the whole class got a complete facelift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
but I mean, that's the big ones. When we move on to the Barbarian is going to take us 5 minutes. Well, it might take us longer because we're going to complain about it a bunch. But let's move on to the Barbarian because they're the next one.
Yep.
Just a second. They made level 1 mutagens, so you can actually have that type of alchemist from the get-go.
Yeah, a lot of classes are getting what they need to function a little quicker.
Yeah. I mean the alchemical item.
Mm-hmm. Whereas before you had to wait till, 5th, I think?
5, yeah.
Which
and I just really like that.
What's the one that makes you the natural attacker again?
I think it's Bestial Mutagen. I'm pretty sure.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway.
But they changed up.
Yeah, Bestial Mutagen.
They have all the different changes that they've made there, and they're not bad changes for the Alchemist. It seems to actually have gotten better with this changing. One that has not, as we've alluded to, in our opinion, is the Barbarian.
Yeah, if someone can explain to me and maybe everyone else here, because I'm not certain everyone here agrees with me, but I'm pretty sure. What happened to Rage, and what were they smoking?
Yeah, I mean...
okay, I can take a shot at it, I think.
Yeah, go for it.
I think what had to have happened is the playtest Barbarian someplace, somewhere. I haven't seen it. I'm in a party with a Barbarian now. I was in a party with a Barbarian. Y'all have Tabelda, and I GM for a Barbarian at Doomsday Dawn. And, they're good, but they're not as amazing as they once were. And every Barbarian build I did one on the channel, it's not built to be a Barbarian. It's a fighter first. Or no, rather, it was a fighter, then a cleric, then eventually a barbarian to brace for that debuff round, because that debuff round sucks. Because in a world where -1 to AC means that the bad guy has a 5% chance more for everything you do, to instead of picking up 2d6 plus 5, it's 4d6 plus 10, right? That kills you really quickly. So
yeah,
I guess the idea here, I think, is to try to make Rage go longer, but at the same time make it more thematic to exertion, and also not being the Barbarian who could rage for 5 billion rounds eventually in 1E. So mechanically, what it comes down to in a mechanical sense is at the end of each of your turns, you attempt a flat check, and it goes up, and that determines if you keep raging. So the first one, and it's weird how they word this. I get that they have to, but at the end of round 1, it's a DC 0. So that means you win. But at the end of round 2, it's a DC 5. So that means you have a 20% chance to get less rage than you had before. Now, granted, you're probably okay, but that, if the RNG didn't like you that day, you go to the fatigue round that much quicker.
If
and then on the third round, it's a 45% shot.
if you roll like Will Wheaton, you will, or if you roll like Rod,
if you roll
will.
like me.
If we're honest with ourselves. Hey, I mean, Adelaide didn't roll that bad. Adelaide rolled fine.
You got real lucky in that last game. I'm very impressed. But you get the first round for free, and the second round is pretty good. But that third round,
the third round is a 45. The third round is what you had before. At that point, you've achieved the same amount of rage that the playtest barbarian already had, and it's not guaranteed to chop your head off. It's a 45% chance. Then a DC 15 makes it a 65% chance. Which so you could kind of maybe have 4 rounds of rage, but the odds are bad. And then from then on, it's crit to succeed. So,
yeah. It's just it's the fourth rage is very unlikely. You know, you roll 50, you reliably roll 15 or better on a flat check, and then to rage for longer than 24 seconds at a time requires a legendary feat of endurance to stay angry for longer than half a minute before becoming tired for exactly 6 seconds.
Yeah.
No. I don't think you're tired anymore.
No, you are. You can't rage for.
Oh, it doesn't still do that.
Fatigue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still fatigued for a round.
Oh, did I miss
round.
that? Oh no.
It's horrible.
I double-checked it because I got excited too. I thought they had removed the fatigue thing, but no, it's definitely still there.
Oh.
I got excited because I thought
even...
the DC 0 happened at the end of round 3, and this was just play the slots to see if you can get more rounds.
No,
no.
3 like that I would be okay with that if it started at round 3 because you would get 3 rounds, and then after that it would be sort of like you're cool, like you're petering out, like. You're like that adrenaline high is starting to like wear off. Like that would make more sense to me if you had like a couple of 3 rounds buffer.
Yeah.
But you don't. You get angry, and then assuming you don't. Well, I mean, what happens if you roll a 1 on your first? I know it's a DC 0, but like, what happens if you critically fail on your first round?
You can't.
I believe you automatically succeeded the DC 0 without rolling, so the first round is fine.
But it's entirely possible that the second round you just
could be a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you just you're having a bad day. You're rodding it up.
Yeah.
And the RNG has decided you suck that day. You're level 1. You haven't got the ability to shrug off with like the Cleric or Paladin powers that give you too much resistance, which is sweet. And then you're fatigued and then you died because your armor class drops and things can make you like flat-footed and like enfeeble you and stuff, and they start going to town.
Yeah.
The D12 is nice, but it's only so nice.
They implement this mechanic, and then they amplified a simplified version of Moment of Clarity that lets you end your rage earlier if you really want it. You know, your rage that could, if you have bad RNG, end on the second turn. You know, let's let you end it earlier. You know, because you want.
Now that would be good. That's all well and good. That's all well and fine. But like, give me back the Frenzied Berserker from 3.5. Then I'm happy with Moment of Clarity. Otherwise, there's no point.
Who accidentally attacks his friends. I would rather have that guy than this guy who can't stay mad for longer than 12 seconds.
Yeah,
that Prestige House is fun.
You're definitely not building the classic Rager Hulk. Like, you can't build Hulk in this.
No, you're playing a petulant toddler.
Yeah, a big petulant toddler with a stick.
Tantrum, and then you cool off because you realize no one's paying attention to you, and then you throw another tantrum. That's the Barbarian.
And hopefully everyone didn't start paying attention to you when you cooled off, because then you're dead on the floor.
Yeah, you start throwing a fit, they start paying attention to you, then you're fatigued, and they wail on you. Yeah. Still what I don't like about it. I know.
I think this is almost there. I think it's real close. It's just either let the DC 0 start like at the end of round 3, and then like round 4 plus is the bonus round, or give me a class feat to extend the rage, or give me a general feat to get a circumstance bonus on flat checks, or let Halfling Luck deal with flat checks as well, or like failing that, maybe take some kind of damage post rage to extend it by a number of rounds equal to XYZ. It's close. Yeah. I think this is a step in the right direction, but it's like you got one foot in the past. So it doesn't quite.
So far as what we've read so far, I like the Alchemist.
Yeah.
I don't like the Barbarian. I think this change is bad. I do agree with Tommy. I think that this change is a step in the right direction, but it's a weird side straddle over a pit full of spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something needs to be added to this to make it less swingy.
Well,
whether that be adding a modifier to it, or giving us a feat to help mitigate how swingy it is, or like something needs to be added to this mechanic, or like there needs to be some buffer added to this mechanic to give us a couple free rounds before we have to start making checks. Mm-hmm. Something about this needs to change to make it serviceable, because as far as I understand it now, this is a bad mechanic, and if this is how they want it to, how they want to keep it going forward, I hope that Adam lets Lucia ad hoc
retrain
her barbarian into something less crappy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's pretty bad.
It's what I think they were doing is we already thought that. I think that people have been in the playtest going past those 3 rounds and hitting that fatigue round and realizing how bad it is to have that counter on the barbarian so tightly in an encounter.
What playtest?
That's like every opponent of every intelligence level will target the barbarian. Then the dumb opponent, like the everything from Rusty Dagger Shakedown to like the classic too many wolves encounter, right? At level 1, as Kane and I have discussed, like the wolves will see you are tired and they will pounce. There's no reason anything with like at least this many intelligences won't just tear you apart.
How pack tactics work. And they say on page 57 when they make this note about it, this update simplifies mode of clarity to give a way to end rage earlier for players who want their barbarians to have a higher level of control. Which I can understand that theme in a character, but I want to know what playtest groups were like, 3 rounds is too many.
Yeah.
I can speak to that, I think. I think it would be a good example of this would be the way you guys... Yeah. If you had needed to drop out to heal, or the way the end of Planar Crossroads ran Thistletop. If that was in the playtest, and there was a playtest barbarian at the table, and you need to end that 1 round and have the fatigue round while the door is shut, and the goblins are over here, and like the other couple of marshals are dealing with them, and then you can open the door and kill everybody. That's sensible to me, I guess.
That's
worth a class feat. Kind of sucks, but yeah.
I can go over the bard really quick because I'm playing one.
Sounds good.
The 1.6 update, we've made very few updates to the bard. There's, of course, the 1.2 update that changed the skill proficiencies, which I'm sure you all know about. You get occultism and performance, and then 6+ your int. So you're still the skill master pretty much so far. In your spell repertoire, your number of cantrips increases to 5, plus 1 you gain from your, or plus the cantrip you gain from your muse. And then there's been some language changes referring to your muses, mostly referring to the powers you get from your muses. Lore, Maestro, and Polymath have their respective powers changed to possess prerequisites in their like their following powers. Like Lore has Lore Master's Recall, Mental Prowess, and Mental Stronghold. All of those have had the Lore Muse prerequisite added to them, so that, say, a Maestro could not qualify for them simply by being a bard. So your Maestro qualifies for Maestro talent, and your Lore Bard qualifies for Lore talent.
And you have to go back and take the Polymath talent to be able to access those things. So yeah.
And they kind of try to work their way around this with what I am looking at now in the wording. It's just a bad feat. The multifarious muse. Your muse doesn't fall into a single label. Choose a type of muse other than your own. You gain a first level feat that requires that muse. And your muse is now also a muse of that type. Oh, also a muse. I must have read this incorrectly before. I read that is now only a muse of that type.
Oh.
So you got double muses.
Literally better.
Levi also read that.
And you can take it again to have all 3 muses.
Yeah, that's okay. I take it back. That's my bad. That is a clerical error on my part. I read that as only a muse of that type, which would have made multifarious muse a fucking terrible feat. But if it is also a muse of that type, then this is a very good feat.
Yeah,
it's the very, very bard feat. You are the jack of all bards.
This is literally the feat that makes you the Jack of all trades. Which I'm actually quite excited about now that I realize my clerical error. I apologize, Paizo. This is a good feat.
Well,
and you take a feat multiple times, so if you take it twice, you get all 3. You can be the bard that does all of the things for the low cost of 2 class feats.
Yeah. Though I don't know, some of those class feats for those other ones don't seem all that attractive unless they've changed them some from the last time I looked at the bard.
I'm sure there's more errata to come.
Yes.
With the cleric,
in addition to more errata, as the splat comes, there will be other muses, and so we can pull into them.
Speaking about clerical errors, Kane, you're going into that.
I was going to say the cleric and the fighter. I was going to lump them together because the cleric in this most recent errata and the fighter in this most recent errata have basically remained untouched. There have been
I think that's inaccurate for the cleric.
Well, there's been some slight change to the wording.
It's also lost a lot of the amounts of channel energy it had.
Yeah, I think there's been some editing to how many times the cleric can do certain things. But they've also changed how clerics cast. Well, they've changed how everything casts. So the cleric now has access to more spells because it can cast while it has things in its hands.
Without having to take items to do so.
Yes, whereas before it was unable to cast a lot of spells with semantic components if it was holding a weapon and shield, but now it can do so without having to worry about taking a blazing symbol or without dropping its things to cast spells.
In much the same way that the druid could before if you had like holly and mistletoe in one hand, but now it can just be like, I'm gonna tag you with my staff and you're healed.
But I think the trade-off they've made here with that semantic casting adjustment is... it feels a little bad, but I think it's also fair.
I think it is too. Because, the shield is the ring of protection of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Yeah. If you don't have it, you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And it's...
So really, aside from a couple adjustments to how their spellcasting works, which aren't super big, it's summed up in half a paragraph.
The big one is that the cleric is losing. Eventually, it will get more with like class feats and stuff. But back in the day, yesterday, the cleric could cast channel energy 3 plus charisma, I believe, per day, and now it's just charisma. The 3 plus is gone.
Well, as someone who played
you're probably going to have pretty decent charisma anyways because you want that resonance, boy.
Mm-hmm. And the clerics are very good at healing, and like literally everyone can heal in class now with like treat wounds and stuff.
Well, as someone who played a cleric of Pharasma for a few sessions and had to build him up to mid-level, if you've got players that are watching their money and buying their own stuff, especially since potions don't cost resonance now, you're not.
They do so. Potions cost resonance. Potions from an alchemist don't cost resonance. Like if your ranger made one, it will still cost resonance, as I understand it.
But I think they've also changed the potions so the resonance costs the person who owns them, but not necessarily the person who drinks them, or it's just the person who drinks them.
Yeah, which is why the alchemist is better in like a meta sense.
Yeah,
because like the world would they wouldn't know the word resonance, but they would know that resonance exists, and buying from the alchemist is better than buying from the apothecary, herbalist, blase, because like it's 100% of the time it works all the time.
Also, emblazoned symbol doesn't exist anymore
because it doesn't need to. It has been which I think is sweet. It was a tax.
Aside from that, as someone who built it, I didn't do a lot of healing as the healer. I built the heal bot, and it didn't really need me. So
I'm not going to say we didn't need you because I got hurt real bad, and
I think it was the nature of that encounter.
So I think that's on you. But yeah, aside from like a few small changes to the specifics of how the cleric casting works, the cleric and the fighter received very little attention from this errata.
The fighter got a good one too, though. Like it's real small. It's not as big as like the elephants in the room tonight, but the fighter is more flexible now because the stance wording has been changed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. I suppose the
stance wording was changed so you don't have to start with an open. You just go into a stance.
That affects every character that gets a stance, though.
Right, but that's only fighters and monks, and only. Let me look at the monk really quickly. I'm gonna like zoom through the class feats and look for the word open.
Stances, because what was the name of the monk I played, Tommy?
Bradley Boulder Ripper.
Bradley Boulder Ripper. Bradley Boulder Ripper definitely had a bunch of stances.
And they all have the open trait, and now it's a little easier, a little more flexible to move around into them.
Yeah, that's fair.
How about druids?
That's less of a class change and more of like a rule change.
A rules change that benefits both. Yeah.
Interact with it. So the monk and the fighter did get boosts from the change to the way stances work.
Yes. How about druids?
Druids got a lot of really, really cool stuff. As someone who just built a wild druid,
they mostly got a page and a half to tell you how to wild shape again.
No, they got a page and a half of extra stuff on your wild shape and a page and a half of lowering. Yeah, swear to God. Like, I just made this for min-maxing for fun and profit, and it rolls out. Like, now, the big one that I saw was when you take wild shape, it says starting at 3rd level, you can cast animal form by spending a use of your wild shape pool before. That was a class feat at level 4 called animal shape, and you had to just, like, be Johnny Scimitar, which isn't bad. But
I thought
that
they
was
were animal shape.
They did. It's built into wild shape. What I'm saying is before that was a feat. Now it is not. And we can access it 1 level faster.
I do like the plant shape is a level 10 feet now instead of like a level 17 feet.
Wasn't a feat before?
Was it not?
It was not. It was a spell.
It was for it was for a specific circle of druid. That's what it was.
Yeah. But I'm about 90% sure it didn't make you turn into a plant, so like as in like the plant shape spell. I know what you're talking about. It's the one that cocoons you. Verdant metamorphosis, I think. Yeah.
No, plant form.
You emerge as a plant creature.
Plant shape.
Right, but not
like it turns you into a plant creature.
It does, you're right. Okay, fair enough. So that does chop it down by a lot. And there's no like this one isn't a permanent. This is something the wild druid could access, and the plant druid isn't just stuck on by himself. Also, another one I really liked when I read it was it's under insect shape. Before, pest shape was really like, it kind of made me angry. I'm not going to lie. Like at level 1, you can turn into a useless nothing that has weakness 5 to all damage for a minute. But now with insect shape, if you also have pest shape, and if that insect can't fly, you are that insect for 24 hours instead of an hour, which that's gnarly. That's sit in the rogue's pocket for as long as you need to until that bag opens up and a grizzly bear pops out and kills all the bag guys.
Yeah. That's also super scouting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Like who's gonna? No one's gonna like you. How easy would scouting be if you were a cockroach? Like
exactly. Yeah. That's Mirrodin's build is changing before my very eyes because that's so good. And
so,
another thing I liked about it,
just the new wild shape. Is Wild Morph just the new wild shape? Wild
Morph is you had a power that you got when you were a wild druid that gave you basically shifter claws, and no one cared about it because you were using that big strength pool to turn into a bear and kill people.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving you claws, now it's if you had elemental shape, you get resistance 5 to crits and precision. Plant shape turns you into the Abyssal Blood Rager. Like giving you a reach of 10 feet or 15 feet with a reach weapon, that's crazy. Soaring shape gives you a fly speed. Of course, these all can be heightened and stuff. It feels like what the shifter should have been. Instead of just here's some claws. Now it's here's some claws, but also.
Yeah, your claws, your wild claws and wild jaws. Oh yeah, nice rhyme. Work like a magic weapon, and they leave terrible, jagged wounds that deal persistent bleed damage. I like that.
That's good. Persistent bleed is great.
They also feel like our villain is changing.
Deal persistent poison damage.
What was that, Levi?
What did you say, Levi?
I feel like our Tuesday Night Games villain is changing because of this.
Oh god, yeah, probably. We're in trouble. We're gonna need some detect magic to pick up which cockroaches are the bad guy.
Where's the bad cockroaches? Like billions of them, billions of them covering this seedy apartment that you guys have to go into. You got like a medieval Joe's apartment going on. This one little cockroach just keeps this one little druid cockroach keeps on doing that for 24 hours. so that he can rule all the cockroaches in Joseph's apartment. And
suddenly it's that might lord you wanted to build forever.
He's got this whole spiring of little cockroaches that come and talk to him, and he is their cockroach king. And this dude Joe is just out of some dude's apartment.
Oh,
Adam.
Okay. All right, I'm back.
You're back.
You're still stabbing your eye to death. Open Hangouts again. Like, make that. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
How much of that was recorded? Did we catch that?
I don't know. Did we get all of it? Are you going to get all of that? Or we're just like, Adam.
No, I didn't get any of that.
All right, how far back are we going?
All right, so speaking of seedy apartment, Adam, when are we going to get out of shitty Atlantis land? Because no one likes it there.
No one likes that really nice apartment?
No one likes that real nice apartment where everyone treats us like slaves or children, except for
Yarko?
You gotta get a little angry with those R's.
Yarko.
Beat them up. Yarko.
I don't know.
So time is short. Another thing that I think is sweet to point out, I haven't done the math yet, but alongside the Druid and alongside the Ranger in this update, animal companions are getting a buff to their armor class. I didn't realize this until I made the video and someone called me on it, as much of these videos have been for me. But an animal companion right now can't have an item bonus to its AC or its anything that's not from its barding. So Hand Wraps of Mighty Fist given to your animal companion will not function. You cannot cast Mage Armor targeting your animal companion. It just doesn't work, which I think is a load of crap. Because that causes your animal companion's AC to fall off. And I imagine we don't want the next workout roll that like eats everything for breakfast. I get that.
Yeah, I want your to have an AC of 17. That's what I want.
Nope. Give me a colossal workout, and the size bonus will bring it down. But
that'll be an AC of like 13.
Yeah, I'll be super hittable. You can hit me so many times, so many hits. But what's happened is some of this is stapled into the Ranger, some of it's stapled here, but the light barding's AC bonus is up to 2, heavy barding's up to 3, and animal companions now, they've seen their dex mod come up, and they have their own item bonus to AC baked into the class. So the armor classes seem to be coming up by 2 or 3, which like might be enough. I don't know.
10 to 15% chance less to get crit.
Yeah, that's fair.
That depends a lot on how
on the meta.
That depends on how much to hit they're facing with that AC. Because
everything I build benchmarks against the Jabberwock for that reason, and the Jabberwock is a meaty boy.
Yeah, right. Meaty boy. That
so
is
monk.
true. The monk's real simple. The monk got some new key powers. That's most of the monk, I think.
Yeah, the monk didn't need. The monks are really good right now.
Yeah, I like the monk.
Need anything.
New meta. They're really fun looking. They did change them, so now that they get simple weapons, so they can actually hit things at range
without having a flying kick.
Yeah, which they couldn't do. Which was clearly just an oversight on their part, and they fixed it in the book. So there you go.
I think they expected the Shuriken to be able to carry the day.
Yeah, which it cannot.
No.
Shuriken for poison, and that's about it.
All right.
Key rush.
Here we go.
Cool, because they got
the monk.
Run. They're running people. Ha ha! They got their Naruto run powers going on. It's real, their Q rush. I like it a lot.
All right.
They put their hands made it so they go faster.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
We've made it. We've made it to the debate. We've made it to the debate.
Waiting for.
All right, Paladins. Paladins. Here we go. So Paladins had a change. And it was a change that we all knew was coming with the way they were talking about Paladins. We saw the writing on the wall when they started with the verbiage they started using.
Man, you're the only one who's upset about it. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
I don't think I think a lot of people are really upset. My patrons, I knew about this on Friday. Yeah. And like the exact verbiage used by a guy from the UK who gives me $5 a month was the Paizo forums went nuts in 0.fuck seconds. Yeah. And
so
yeah, they did.
Yeah, here's what happened. Paladins got official rules for not being lawful good alone. Now, for me, as someone who loves paladins and loves the not just paladins but the aesthetic of the paladin, the lore of the paladin, the concept of an individual who attains to a higher calling and lawful goodiness.
Lawful goodiness.
Yes, lawful goody two-shoesiness.
It's like two-shoesiness, but you're not afraid to hit someone in the head with a warhammer if they stray from the path.
But
has existed since like way before Paizo. Like 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons had the exact same thing with the Paladin of Freedom, the Paladin of Redemption, the base Paladin, and then like with their antithesis, the anti-Paladins, the anti-Paladin of Tyranny, of Corruption, and of Carnage.
right.
Like the Black God, as one might say.
With the neutral alignments, you always had Paladins, which is clearly just a placeholder name for champion. And I agree with you that they should be called champions, but they're called Paladins because that's the old guard name.
Right. And that's my point. They're making up a new meta. This is a new meta. So make a new meta. They're pretending to keep paladins in the game as, paladins, but they're not really paladins. They're champions. So call the lawful good one a paladin. Call
it a defender.
Yeah, just call him what you've nicknamed him here, and that's what they did. They nicknamed the lawful good.
I don't want to add 3 new classes to the game.
You don't. You put champion.
Change the name of the paladin class to champion.
Yeah, change the name of the paladin class, but like
I don't have a champion of XYZ.
Yeah, 3 new classes for all the subclasses. That's the whole point of having subclasses. But if we're gonna take the paladin and change it into something, I'm fine with calling it a champion instead of a paladin. But that's what it is. It's a paladin.
Yeah. I used to have that same problem with the
champion.
Inquisitor. You know what? I used to not be able to, the Inquisitor in my head was lawful evil and had a pentagram hidden under his cross. And he was the Spanish Inquisition, but for Asmodeus. And I could never picture it as anything but that ever, forever, period. And then I started reading it a little more. And, the verbiage of it's whatever deity, but they can cheat it for the greater good of the faith, and it made sense to me.
Yeah, but the Inquisitor was so good, though.
The Inquisitor.
So was the Paladin.
It was the better hunter.
You gotta play him.
That's a.
Well, there's a hunter class. It was the better ranger. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, the Sacred Huntmaster is pretty good though.
Yeah,
but
so is the Sanctified Slayer is a better Slayer too.
As much as people would want to have
Jesus,
as much as people would want to have a bunch of drama about this, I get why they're keeping the name of Paladin. I don't think they should. I think they should embrace a change if they're going to make one, and just call them champions. And you pick your champion, and you decide what your subclass is by deciding if you're a champion.
Okay,
of
so
this.
Adam.
Yes.
Adam. All dozen people that are going to see this video who aren't us.
Yeah.
Go to Paizo. And when you fill out your feedback surveys, or whatever it is they do, I have done because I'm a bad consumer.
Yes, you are. Poo-poo.
Go to their feedback surveys and tell them that you want to change the Paladin to a champion. And when we do the final release of 2nd edition, maybe they'll change the Paladin to the champion class.
I highly doubt they will, no matter how much feedback they get, because every time you get a new person in, they're going to do like you say, Kane. They're going to stick with the name because it makes money.
They're going to stick with the name because it's familiar and people know what to expect when they find a paladin. I want to talk to you and Tommy and as many people as I can get a hold of.
That's me.
For some homebrew I'm trying to make for a homebrew setting, because we definitely were playing with the idea of some characters or a cast of NPCs that exist in setting that exonerate the law or justice as that culture holds those ideas. And do we call them paladins? Do we stat them as paladins, or do we call them something else?
A champion of order?
Yeah, exactly. Because they're the prestige class I'm using for it is Justicar, because I feel like that exemplifies what I'm personally going for most closely, but
so you want Judge Dredd the class is what I'm hearing.
Kind of, but less indiscriminately violent.
Oh,
well,
fair.
he wasn't indiscriminately violent. He was violent. He was violent for any infraction. See, so I mean, any infraction was justification. So, but yeah, I would go for something like Justicar. I would go for lawful neutral, because that's something that again can be played with when you have a base first and then the descriptor after, like champion of this. They broke it up here into the Defender, the Redeemer, and the Liberator, which are fine names. Those are fine names, but they could have just said champion of whatever, the champion of good, or champion of defense, for whatever that is, the champion of redemption and the champion of liberation as subclasses. So, and that way you don't have to play with the whole Paladin, anti-Paladin, because I've never really liked the anti-Paladin name moniker, because it doesn't really fit well with what they embody. Because
Blackguard did fit a lot better, I thought.
Yeah, the Blackguard felt more like a real anti-Paladin, because they were their own thing. They existed without the Paladin, and if you have a class that can't exist without another, then you've got a situation going on that's not going to be congruent with itself.
Sure. And the anti-Paladin exists in the playtest right now, too. Like, that's definitely one of the bosses that you fight in Doomsday Dawn. Is literally, her name is Henna the Anti-Paladin. Mm-hmm. And she has her own set of classmates and things.
All right.
So it's like, the precedent exists. I like it. I think it's only fair if, like Druids are removed from the neutral. Monks do not have to be lawful. Barbarians do not have to be over here. I think it's logical that also the Paladin should come off. I like that all three of them feel like distinct as well, because that helps it. Like, the LG one feels like the Paladin, right? It's the only one that gets Retributive Strike. It's the only one that like NG feels like a debuffer, and CG's
not good.
CG's is great if there's a lot of black tentacles, which is a stable spell.
Yeah.
Then that's
I think they fill a lot of different niches. The Defender's niche is broader, and I think they're going to see the most play in combat heavy game.
Smackdown evil, make the evil feel bad, and get your people away from the evil.
I really like.
I think it's real hilarious that the Liberator can make everybody within 15 feet of him step. Just everybody back up.
Oh, that sounds so good with the bard. Like, you just give a little note and everyone hippity hops back.
Yeah, and suddenly the monster has to waste an action stepping up to you and only gets 2 strikes.
But to be fair, if the monster is using tentacles to grab or grapple you, they're probably not going to need to step to get to you. So
if they move to 5 feet, yes, but if they only move to 10 or 15, they're the apex of the reach to hit, then it's good.
Yeah. But that's why
unless all of our
smart
CG
creatures don't
Paladins
do
and
that.
CG Paladin friends are all elves that can step 10 feet. Or like tiger stance monks and just like back up.
All right.
I think the NG one's really good.
You gotta make theme parties, Tommy. You gotta make theme parties. You gotta make theme parties. You gotta do a theme. You gotta share it together and just be like turbo one-trick ponies. You gotta play a Hammer Bros Inquisitor with me. It's gonna be great.
I mean, we're doing it live. But I like the NG one a lot. I think the NG one will see a lot of play. I kind of don't like how the bad guy gets a choice, because that I don't get to pick, therefore it will pick the lesser for it. Yeah. But it's also extremely that is Saren Ray's Paladin. Just right there. Yeah. That is what that looks like. And I think it's gonna see a lot of action on the board.
Yeah, the retributive lawful good and neutral good will see a lot of play. Liberating step is useful, like you guys said, situationally, not gonna be all that. If you're not getting locked down,
likes black tentacles.
Yeah.
You're good.
I think there'll be a place for it, and I think as we get closer to release, we're going to see more support for it, or even after release, we're going to see support for it, because for the longest time, I never would have figured that I could make a build that could kill an army with a piece of belt leather, but...
I was there. I saw it happen. I was there that day that we misinterpreted a rule.
We can definitely make a slinger in first edition Pathfinder that hits 7 dudes around, and it's
the pinball wizard.
Real good.
All right. So Divine Smite, I think, is pretty much the same, if I remember right. They just changed it for each of them. They have a little bit of something for each of them.
It functions under different conditions relative to
and it still does the same thing
relative to the class. Yeah.
And then Mighty Aura takes the place of another ability. And
either everyone AOs or it misses attacks on everybody, or everyone just moves 5 feet back right now.
Yep.
I think he's hilarious. Quick, back up!
So yeah. And Lay on Hands got a nice little buff where it goes up to D6s.
So you don't have to take Hospice Knight anymore.
Okay,
as
so
did Goodberry.
Does it say in the PDF? I closed it already. Does it say in the PDF that Hospice Knight is removed? Or
Hospice Knight is no longer a feat. Hospice Knight is gone. Lay on Hands is flat D6s now.
I would have liked if they had kept Hospice Knight and upgraded it to D8.
They have another one that lets you do it for Cure instead, and Cure is D8s.
Yeah.
So they already had another upgrade.
Because I think it would have been nicer if they could have had it in the hospice thing still, because you're spending a fee for it to devote yourself to a Paladin of Mercy style thing where you're there to help people more so than to murder evil.
Yeah,
you're the heal tank.
There's a 4th level feat that lets you cast Cure instead, which is D8s.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still upgrade it. You just can't have 2 different upgrades to it.
You just don't have to upgrade 2 D6s.
They did get a lot of little notes in their stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
It seems they got several
things
that happened with
him. There's a lot of little tiny incremental as the updates have come down.
Yeah. So we've actually come to our time on my recording notes here. So we've made it
a couple more. We can push through.
I gotta go though.
Oh, you coward.
Yep.
I mean, you can keep going, but I gotta go.
You're good at Crusader, but you're still a coward.
I kicked your ass.
You did.
All right. Well, we will say goodbye to Kane. And as far as the changes go for everything else, I don't think there was a whole lot that changed in Ranger that was really crazy.
There's some kind of neat stuff, but it's I think if as playing a Ranger, I think I would still take Flurry to make all weapons agile weapons, make agile weapons better. That still seems real good. But Precision to get a half sneak attack, that's the Slayer. Just right there. In-house. And Stalker is weird. It makes the Scared to Death build a little more fun. Because you're going to add a +2 circumstance bonus to your intimidating the thing. So that feels good.
And
it automatically goes to your Animal Companion now.
That's your social Ranger.
Or almost an Inquisitor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. I gotta.
Bye.
So Canadian.
Bye. I love you guys. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And Sorcerer got a new bloodline.
Rogue got a lot of big changes. Rogue got a lot.
Yeah.
Rogue got a lot of super sweet stuff. Rogue can now choose its key ability score based on what.
I see.
So not subclass, but the technique rather. So Brute Attack can choose Strength and has medium proficiency. Scoundrels have Charisma can be the key ability score. Brutal Beating makes people frightened on a crit, which is super good.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them shaken builds.
And the debilitations still get nice things. I like the idea of a debilitating rogue.
Mm-hmm. The rogue is still really good because the rogue has dex to damage. I feel like a lot of builds I'm going to play are rogue first because that's the only way you can get it. And I imagine you can't archetype to get subclasses. I imagine that's into the class. So you play the rogue, you play the finesse rogue, your dex to damage, so you don't have to care about your strength, and then we'll have 2 races. But that's not the only option, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because the Scoundrel's Feint is the mob boss, and the Brute Attack is the big half orc with muscles on his muscles and a cudgel.
Yeah,
that's standing right behind him. I think it's really strong.
He's your heavy.
Yeah.
And Sorcerer got a new bloodline. They got a few little changes on their bloodline. The Diabolic Bloodline for those that want to serve the devils out there.
It is flawless.
They got Deception and Religion, which is very thematic, and they've got their nice cantrips. Let me see what their Diabolic Edict, 1 willing living creature, And
black mana colors, add a colorless, add instant speed. Target player sacrifices a creature. I make that joke on the video. I have to edit when I'm done with this, but I'm making it here too.
Yeah. You issue a diabolic edict demanding the target perform a particular task. Now they had to be willing, so this is basically you're telling one of your buddies.
You're selling your party to the devil in exchange for a +1 conditional bonus to attack rolls and skill checks related to performing whatever you say they must do.
Which
the refusal bit is interesting. The refusal bit is like it could take a -1 if it refuses, but it has to be a willing target. So like there's no will save to negate. You can't ping the bad guy or the good guy in this case, I guess. But
right, and it does seem a little bit odd. I see where they're going. I see the theme they're going with, but it does seem a little bit odd that it's a willing creature, but it can refuse and take a penalty. But aren't you its ally? Why are you giving it a penalty if it refuses? Type thing. Oh, I'm doing that because I'm a diabolist. Well then,
because I'm evil.
Because I'm evil, and that seems seems
even
to be
though I'm making things objectively worse for myself.
Yeah, I'm hurting myself by making them hurt themselves if they don't do what I tell them to do. It's one of those things where I don't know that the -1 is necessary. Just let them refuse.
Is it?
Because they're taking technically a -2 because they're refusing your bonus and they're taking a -1, so that stacks up to a -2 if they refuse.
Oh yeah, like they could have had a +1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that supposed to be like, are we bluffing someone out of combat that we're awesome, and then we say something super sketchy using Diabolic Edict that we know they'll refuse, and then they take that penalty, and then we spring initiative? Is that how that works? It seems bad.
Well, it says willing creature, which means
well, that's why you bluff them.
You bluff them,
so that way you're like, hey, will you do a thing with me? I'll do a ritual.
Let's kill some babies together.
This person.
What? You refuse? -1. Everyone come in, and then here come like all the rest of the party to punch this dude to death.
Right.
But even then, that
feels like that's a decently silly edge case.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it needs some refining.
Maybe it's for like NPCs. Hey, Paladin, want to fall? Never! Well, you take a -1 conditional penalty. Ha ha ha!
Yeah, but he's got to be willing. And the Paladin's
but he
not...
was like, that's the thing, is like he would be willing when the spell is targeted as you ask. I think it's supposed to be like you've like played the bluff cards for so long and he likes you, and then you pop Diabolic Edict and he's willing at time of cast, and then he refuses. That's very hard to achieve. That's a lot of...
It's a lot of hoops to jump through when there's so many easier ways to get a -1.
Actually, you know what though?
Somebody.
If they just removed the like willing, right, and they just said there's no save.
Yeah.
It'd at least be interesting, and even then, it's not crazy powerful.
Yeah, like, it's a -1. If you pair him up with things if you pair him up with like a bard or a rogue that's going to do debilitating stuff, I mean, it could stack up at level 1, but it's not. Doesn't seem crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, either get rid of the willing or get rid of the penalty, because if you're going to use it to buff your party, just use it to buff your party. Which
Diabolic Bloodline used to be really good too. That was it was as good as the Fey Bloodline. Instead of enchantments, it hit compulsions though. I think. Or no, it hit charms. It hit charms is what it hit. So it was playable in 1E. Now it's
Embrace the Pit lets you kind of take on your devil. You can become a tiefling. Yeah. That's what you do. You become a tiefling. Which
we didn't get him in the playtest. Here you go.
There you go. So if you want to play a tiefling in the playtest, just ask your GM, hey, can I have this and just not take a feat as a human or something? And that might actually work. You pick one of the resistances, but you get 3 resistances and a resistance 1 to physical damage, except for silver, which isn't bad. It's not good at 3. It's kind of
Yeah,
but you got 3 bases covered.
If that 1 or 2 damage saved your life, I guess. But there's so many other ways. And that's another thing. We didn't hit on it because we were fighting to death. But the Paladins, all of their Retributive X gives the target of, like, like the defenders. If I am playing a paladin and Adam is playing or whatever, and I'm an LG paladin and something attacks Adam's thing, and I use this, Adam gets resistance equal to 2 plus my paladin level to the attack. So like, that's really good. That only does this as you level. It's like the might domain of the cleric. Yeah, it's looking really good. And you don't have to be. It's like within 15 feet of both targets, so you can be the divine hunter, more or less.
Yeah,
which is nice. I always have liked the idea of the paladin with the bow and arrow that smites from on high, but that's beside the point.
Hellfire Plume looks fun, but I don't know like the way like all the other spells have done this. And this is 5d4, but sometimes more. So it's 10d4. And it's just kind of like, okay, I could here's some more d10s from I'm a divine bloodline, so my harm is bigger and like things. Well, I'm a divine bloodline, so I don't have fireball and lightning bolt and stuff. So I guess it looks alright.
Well, it seems like it's 10d4. 5 of it is fire, which is the most resisted damage. Period.
As a 1e. I don't know if that's the case now. It probably is.
I mean, they're going to carry over most of their monsters eventually. Yeah. So, I mean, it will likely be. Because, but to be fair, you're probably not going to be fighting a lot of the things that pile up that big, oh, this has fire resistance thing. Because a lot of those things are devils. Because there's a lot of devils. So, to be fair, now you could be fighting demons for the devils, because like the devils hate demons more than they hate angels. So, I mean, there is that. You could run into that problem where they have resistance to your fire, or sometimes straight out immunity. So you could cut half your damage right there, theoretically,
and the other half will be cut because the evil damage won't hurt an evil creature.
Right. So this is definitely not something that you're using against an evil creature. Alternatively, it's not necessarily something that you're going to want to use against a good creature, because sometimes they resist evil things. That's a deal. Especially if, like you said, they're angels. Like,
or any kind of outsider will have resistance XYZ to the given elements. We don't have any angels right now in the playtest, which is weird to me. I'm really surprised we saw a bunch of devils and demons, but not one angel in the playtest today. Yeah, I swear to God. So
no, yeah, because it would have been an angel section at the get-go, right?
Yep.
In the A's. We have a Valkyrie. I'm going to look at the Valkyrie right quickly. That's an outsider. Let's see here.
We have way more Fae than I think is normal. Well, not way more, but...
If you look at the trend...
We have Tane, we have the Norn...
If you look at
we have some big Fae.
Yeah. Sorry. If you look at the trend of popular media right now, Norse is very in. So... I mean, that's just me observing.
Makes me so mad that the Valkyrie is chaotic. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, all of the Jotun stuff, all of the Norse stuff,
like the Einar are too. That's so dumb. But
that's
anyway,
how they got it.
A Valkyrie resists 10 everything except cold iron and is weak to lawful 10.
So it's going to resist.
Now
that means it resists. That means that the fire plume...
Every single bit of damage.
Every type of damage. Which means it's going to resist half of the... It's going to resist 10 of the fire damage and 10 of the evil damage. Because they're separate
of 20 damage. Shrugged off, yeah.
Yeah. So that makes all split damage worse. In general.
The devils are all still looking to be immune to fire. Where's the Gilligan? He's probably not.
So there's that.
Oh, God. It's going to scroll.
All
Gilligan
right.
is still immune. Yeah, all the devils are just flat immune. Of course they are.
Yeah, so we'll see how that stacks up. And, I mean, it's potentially very powerful if you're facing somebody who's not going to be able to do something about the resistances. But even a fireball has 1 resistance type. And even if they have 10 resistance to it, that's only applying once.
And there's no elemental spell right now. There's no ability to take that over like cold damage or lawful damage to ping the Valkyrie harder.
Levi, I think I hear you tapping your thing.
Yeah, my man. You got to not play your clicking games when we're recording. We have to edit those.
So Wizard is next. I didn't see many changes in Wizard. Trained in Arcana.
The change to
They
the
get
Wizard
10
is
minutes to
subtle,
swap
but
the
it's
spell slot.
good. They're trying to bring back how versatile the Wizard was in 1E, to where like, here's 20 scrolls, have fun. What spells do you have? Haha, rest and have more. That kind of thing. But it's like, at rest you can swap them out, much in the same way that a higher level fighter at rest can swap feats, which I think is really cool. And it's inherent to the Wizard. The Wizard had that for a long time, and it helps separate it from the other casters,
which is important now, because a lot of the other casters, there's a reason to play Wizard, but it's not as it used to be. It's not the same.
The item crafter.
Yeah, it's not the same way it used to be. Because if you're going to be an item crafter, you're going to be an alchemist. Because you just get so much more being a crafter as an alchemist now. And anybody can craft. Yeah, alchemist and rogue. So if you want something, like if you had an alchemist and a rogue and they both had crafting abilities, you could craft anything in the game, basically. Because you can do like we were doing with homebrew, and one person can help with the magic, like anybody you got in your party that can do magic can help with the magic during that crafting time. So,
and there's just the second level skill feat magic crafter.
Yeah.
But it's eventually, as the Wizard levels, I can trade out more spells, and if it's a universalist, it has a like less but the full choice, and the like an illusionist has more but must pick from those, right? As I like cat at the door at my webcam. It's again, I think it's the class. The class needs it to be the class. And maybe this is saying that a lot of people weren't playing the Wizards. I don't know. I've had a Wizard. I've GM'd for, or been in a party with, or they have something for, I think, every class at this point. Right? Yeah, I've had them all.
Although being in a Gestalt game helps.
I think that
in Doomsday Dawn, every 3 sessions, we're rolling up something else. So
I think that the Wizard, the changes that are going on with the Wizard and people not playing them as much, because I see that too, is that Wizards require a lot more of thought to be put in if you run into campaigns where you're really playing a Wizard at higher levels. You need to know what you're going to face, know what their abilities are. Knowledge is the power of the Wizard. But most people, when they pick up a magic user, they don't necessarily want to worry about micromanaging their spells. They want to worry about how much damage those spells are going to do, not necessarily what they can do. Yeah, and I can see why that is a thing that has shifted, and that's nothing to do with Paizo. That has more to do with just the general gaming. As more people get into the game, as more people get into tabletop games as a whole, the medium itself changes. So.
The meta is a lot more like the 5e guys that I think we're also trying to like convert to our grand cause here. Like, it's a very casual meta. There's people like us that are very like, I'm gonna spend 6 hours to build this character that I will never play, and then I'm gonna do it 10 more times, and that's my Saturday. But there's a lot of people who just want to show up and fireball things to death. Which is why, at the end of the day, Mirrodin ended up being a Druid Sorcerer instead of his original first edition that Joe played so long ago, Druid Wizard, because Dangerous Sorcery feeds that. Though, with the higher level play, I still kind of worry. Because everything's just flat immune to you. I guess we'll see.
Archetypes.
I think that's basically everything.
Yeah, because archetypes didn't get anything. The pirate got a little bit of a change. So,
I am still very skeptical as to where the heck my Cavalier is. Because I love that class. I loved that.
It's under Paladin.
And it hasn't. It's gone. It is the only one that has not received official.
Just wait until their lawful neutral Paladin comes out.
You think that's it? You think that's the
and just take a mount, and then you can take a secondary bond later, and it's basically this Cavalier.
Probably weapon bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't need the shield if you're blitzing.
You don't need the shield if you're jousting them to death.
You don't. I think this means the Cavalier is, once we hit 2nd edition in full, and maybe even as of another update, the Cavalier is going to be its own class. Maybe core, maybe like first ultimate blah blah blah. And who's the Cavalier? Because like, why else is it gone? There's no reason. Like, why did we leave pirate? Who's so stoked to play a pirate out there?
You'd be
Probably a
surprised.
few people. Yeah, what?
Pirate games can be fun.
Well, but there's probably a similar level of people who are stoked to
for
play the
Taz.
archetype who, like, run and smash down with the lance.
Yeah, or like the horse archers or the green knights. I saw a lot of people have green knight builds.
And I think that if they want to do, I don't think that if they want to do Cavaliers right, that they'll do it as its own class. I think it should be an archetype, because I think anybody can ride a horse if they get enough, if they just train in it. Like, anybody
and everyone
can do that.
pledge themselves to a certain order.
Yeah, and so if you let it stack onto other classes, you get a lot more out of you. It would get a lot more mileage. More people would play it. More people would have fun with it if it can be on top of something. In the same way that pirates and water travel is not going to come up in a lot of outside of an
Not all
aquatic
skull and
campaign.
shackles are made equal.
Yeah. Well, in the same way, not everybody's going to need to have a mount, because some games don't run that way. Some people don't run
some
those
games
type
the
of
mount
games.
is a huge liability because like there's no room in the dungeon for that horse.
Yeah, and that's another thing to consider. If you're going to make a thing that has, like the Cavalier that has the animal, that animal's got to be viable up to 20th level. I mean, you can't just...
It's real sketchy now.
Yeah. You can't just throw it out to make it a part of that class's meta and say, it's good until 10th level.
Oops, your horse is killed out from under you.
Yeah, and then you take penalties.
Now, I think the Paladin with a mount bond could do it really well, because you have Retributed Strike as a defender and your horse is your ally, right? So it goes, oh god, do that on a Liberator. And the horse, that's sweet.
That's
Don't
battlefield
attack my
maneuvers
horse.
right
Feel
there.
bad. That's bad. Bad you. No, horsey's friend.
Why you hurt
my
my horse? You play a dumb paladin. You make sure that the horse is smarter than he is, and you're like, "No, don't hurt my horse." And he's like, "That's not nice. You my buddy."
Oh, sorry. I feel bad. I'm now enfeebled one or lose the attack. My choice, though.
Yep. And I don't mind that as much. I mind it thematically, but I don't mind it mechanically when we're talking about that specific thing, because they're going to take something. It's a guaranteed something that they're going to take, and that's not the case with the step unless the person is already free from the grapple, because they still have to escape the grapple, which is why I think that it is more useful than the chaotic good, which is the
CGs is like, even if they're not grappled, the CG can still back up, which I think has its uses. It's kind of like oh god, there's a swashbuckler deed. I can't think what it's called now, but it lets you would use it when something used a full attack, and you would like, it was at reach or something, and you would 5-foot step back after it's done the second attack, so it's committed to a full round action and wastes the turn.
Right. All right. I don't think there was much else, like you guys were saying.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So there's that. Administering first aid. I don't need to worry about that anymore, because I mean, my medic was all set up, and you guys didn't need a medic, so it was kind of that way. I got to throw daggers instead.
Yeah.
Which was
you
fun.
throw a dagger.
Dying, unconscious, other changes. No, I think that's pretty much it.
That's all the new ones.
All the new stuff.
All right. So that was update 1.6. We should expect 1.7 in probably a couple weeks.
Whenever they get done playtesting, when the stars go dark. God, my group is so far behind. I don't know how we did it, but I also don't know how Paizo expects you to get through some of these in 4. Because like, there's a lot of big explorations, and I had a TPK actually in Mirrored Moon, because sea serpents can now spit algae that causes you to hallucinate.
Oh, well,
and
there
that
you go.
was fun. Psychotropic algae, literally, and everybody just shut them off.
All this algae, man, it's like green all over my face. I can taste the green.
And the worst part about it is if you're flying, you're compelled to move towards water. So then the sea serpents, and then you're gone. It's so good.
You swallowed whole. All right.
That's
I
what
like
happened to the party.
But I think that's everything that we have for this update, and we should expect the next one out soon enough. I'm not a fan of the way Paizo. I've made it known before. I'm not a fan of the way Paizo has done their playtest as far as the way they've done all the different things at certain times. But all that aside,
it's awkward for us as content creators for sure. Like, let's do this thing. Let's make a big, huge project where we're going to make this whole thing an audiobook. Oh wait. Can't do that.
We're going to change it in less than a month. So,
you should still. I think you should still do that. I think that's a valuable resource. Just like soon.
Yeah. We might do it again. We might do the audiobook project later when everything's
when it's actually second edition. I think.
Because Paizo, I don't feel like recording something for hours. I'm not like literal hours, and then spending twice as long editing it just to have it out of date in less than a month. So, meh. But my saltiness aside, there are a lot of fun things that I think are good in this particular update. Rage is not one of them. But
it's closer. It's like one step forward, one step half back.
Yeah.
Just commit to the goal. Make it good.
I don't know. I'm still the mindset. Just make it your con, and be done with it. Just make it your con score and be done with it. You can rage as long as your con as high for as many rounds a day as your con score. It's basically the same, and you don't have to count all. You don't have to keep track of all these different things at times. And when you run out, you've worn your body out. It's just how it is. But anyway, that's me. That's how I do it. That's not how everybody do it, and that's not how Paizo's doing it. So, we hope you enjoyed. We hope you had fun watching us and blather about this for a little over an hour now.
We did it.
As always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye. And
bye.
Thank you, Kane. Well done. That sounds like.
This content was made possible by the generous support of patrons and travelers like you. Thank you.